Nobody wants to lose money when they buy a car, especially when they spend quite a lot of money on it. So today I'm going to talk you through 10 cars that cost less than £30,000 that I think have reached the bottom of their depreciation curves. If you want to see the same video again at under £20,000 instead, do hit the like button. 1,000 likes and I'll make that video. And 77% of you are not subscribed, so do hit the subscribe button for 2 videos every single week. It's free and you get to support the channel in a nice, easy way. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's start with the Nissan 370Z Nismo, the most aggressive version of the 6th generation Nissan Z car, which takes what is already a nice muscly sports car and gives it some of the same love and attention that the GTR would get from Nismo. That includes slightly more power out of that engine, a 3.7 litre V6 that makes 339 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5 seconds, so not ridiculously quick, but when matched with this thing's handling, you are laughing. The Nismo treatment included the automated rev matching in manual cars, a new ECU and exhaust setup, plus stiffer springs and stabilizing bars and larger brakes and vented rotors, with all that wrapped in a nice Nismo package that means a few tasteful exterior mods. They'll set you back around £21,000 at the bottom end, and our 30k limit will get you a 2020 model with around 20,000 miles on it, though I'd suggest going for a new model won't protect your investment as much as one that's depreciated a bit more. Clutches, steering locks, oil consumption and a couple of other bits are noted on forums, but cutting through the noise, these are generally pretty reliable. I was recently lucky enough to drive a Lotus Emira thanks to the team at Motorland, and I had an incredible time. Make sure you go check out that video after this one, but that Emira was effectively the successor to this, the Lotus Evora. In its base spec, this more grand touring focused sports car comes with a 3.5 litre V6 Toyota engine, which puts out 276 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.8 seconds. Not bad for the non-supercharged example, helped by the fact that it weighs just over 1,200 kilograms. The benefit of that Toyota block is that these are way more reliable than older Lotuses, and it's a pretty under-stressed block, but these offer slightly more practical and comfortable entry points into Lotus ownership, with a boot that can also fit a set of golf clubs and a fully finished interior rather than the more stripped out nature of the Elise or Exige. They'll run you around £27,000 at the bottom end, and 30k will get you a 2012 example with around 60,000 miles on the clock, and I don't expect them to fall anywhere further than that really, given they've sat here for a while. Maserati are synonymous with depreciation, and the old 4.2 litre Gran Turismo dropped in price to well under the 20k mark even a few years back, but now the slightly more recent S model has done the same with its larger Ferrari engine, a 4.7 litre V8 which you'll also find in cars like the Alfa Romeo 8C, producing 433 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.7 seconds. On release, this was the most powerful road legal Maserati except for the MC12, and it had the automated manual from the Ferrari F430 in it too. Given the original design for the Gran Turismo literally ended up being the Ferrari California, I always see these as basically the cheapest route into something like a Ferrari without the badge, and I've always loved the aggressive interiors. 16 grand is enough to get you into one of these now, making it the cheapest car on the list, and 30k is enough for a 2012 model with around 40,000 miles on the clock. Again, I would want to go for one a little bit cheaper if you want to protect your investment. Electrical issues are a key point of failure on these, as well as the build quality. Possibly the coolest car on this list is the Aston Martin DB9. Not only did it get its own fridge on the Top Gear cool wall, it's one of the last opportunities you have to run an Aston Martin V12 engine with a manual gearbox. As though they are rare, they are findable and within our 30k price range too. It's a 5.9 litre V12 to be exact, which makes 450 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.7 seconds, matching the Maserati despite being significantly older. That reflects on quite an old school interior, which could be nicer, but given this was the predecessor to the DB11 as the flagship Aston, the price being so low probably reflects it not being a Bond car. These start at around £21,000, and 30k will get you a 2008 example with 50,000 miles on the clock, and given these are quite old now, I don't really expect that to go down anymore. The engine is known to be strong, but build quality issues are known, and when problems do arise, these can be absolutely crippling, so do go in with your eyes open. I struggled to choose which Porsche to include in this list, as 911s typically have very good residuals, pretty much regardless of spec. I decided on keeping it simple and going for the 997 Carrera S, as it's the least controversial, and there are so many different specs to go for that seem to be doing pretty well on values right now. You can can grab these anywhere from around £17,000 now, making it the second cheapest car on the list, and 30k is enough for a 2006 model with 50k on it, again meaning it's old enough that it's almost certainly reached the bottom of its depreciation curve. For that kind of money, you'll also be getting yourself a 3.8 litre flat 6 engine, making 350 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 4.6 seconds, that was known for bore scoring and IMS issues. But more importantly, you're buying into a nicely balanced Porsche 911 with a little bit more pace than the non-S, but nothing too shouty. Add on the return to more typical 911 headlights, and you only need to look at the prices of every 911 generation pre-996 to see that in the long term, 911s only go up. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit the like button. As I said, 1,000 likes with the same video again under £20,000 instead. Hit subscribe as well for 2 videos every single week. And let me know in the comments down below what the most money you have ever lost on a car is. The first generation Audi R8, which hasn't been without its own problems, bottomed out on price probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, and it offers probably the most exotic package overall on this list, particularly if you go for a gated manual example. As long as you get on with the A-pillars strengthened and are able to handle the maintenance costs, you're getting an important part of Audi's recent history, especially now that the R8 has ended production altogether. You'll only be getting a 4.2 litre V8 example for our price limit, which makes 423 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 4.5 seconds with a lovely soundtrack too. You can think of this to some degree as a baby Gallardo, as it shares its chassis with that car as well as a few other parts, including the engine on V10 models. I personally think they look pretty iconic as well, and are a surefire future classic as the car that propelled Audi into the supercar market. These start around the 27k mark, and 30k is enough for a high mileage 2007 model. Again, your biggest cost will be the maintenance and repairs rather than the car itself. The Lexus RCF is probably the most underrated car on this list, and while yes, the LC500 is a super cool sports car and arguably better looking, the RCF still offers a properly cool alternative to cars like the BMW M4 and Mercedes C63 AMG Coupe, with some incredibly attractive muscular looks. But not only that, of the three from its era, it's the only one to come with a naturally aspirated engine, a 5 litre V8 to be exact, which makes 456 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Imagine that, gapping an R8 off the line in your Lexus. They're helped by being pretty reliable too, and technologically decent with an active rear spoiler on the aero package if you go for one of them. It's rapid too, with theoretically a sub 8 minute lap time around the Nürburgring, with good comfort as well, with these interiors being super plush. They're listed anywhere from around £27,000 now, and 30k will get you a 2015 model with around 40,000 miles on the clock, and there aren't many on the roads really, so this rarity has definitely helped the price to remain higher than its competitors. The biggest problem with the F-Type is the insurance. Since quotes for Range Rovers went through the roof recently, much of the rest of the JLR group has suffered, and I would hazard the F-Type might be the most expensive car to insure on this list. That said, it does come with a stunning 5 litre supercharged V8 engine, which makes 542 brake horsepower, the most on this list, taking it to 60 in 4.1 seconds, helped by it being all-wheel drive to actually get that power down to the road. It's not quite an SVR, but I think the gap in status between an R and SVR isn't actually that much. The R looks more aggressive than the S and the non-S V6 models, sounds like a monster, and only really lacks a few flary bits and the spoiler of the SVR aesthetically. These start at around the £27,000 mark, and 30k will get you into a 2014 model with 60,000 miles on the clock, and again, these are examples have sat at this price for quite some time. Diff leaks are known as well as electrical issues, but the engines have been pretty solid all in. A couple of years ago, I drove a BMW M4 around for a couple of weeks, and more recently, as I've been chilling with the Motorland crew, I've spent a lot of time in and around M4 competitions, and I must say I think it's one of the best value for money cars on the market right now, with some insanely cool specs, genuinely aggressive performance, and usability too. My personal pick would be a convertible comp, as I just think they look so good and drive good as well. That's furthered by these starting at around £24,000 now, and £30,000 will get you into a 2018 example with around 40,000 miles on the clock. I can maybe see a few super high mileage examples dipping below the 20k mark at some point in the future, but given the prices of E92 M3s being back on the rise, I think these will end up following, even with some of the DCT issues and poor maintenance records some of them have had. And either way, you're getting yourself into a 3 litre twin turbocharged inline 6 engine, which makes 443 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.9 seconds. Pretty sick for a rear wheel drive car. Taking the top spot on this list thanks to its absolutely obscene performance is the W205 Mercedes C63 AMG Coupe, even though this generation sadly was the one that lost the naturally aspirated engine in favour of a couple of turbos. But that 4 litre twin turbo V8 is still a beast, putting out 502 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 3.8 seconds in S spec, which actually matches the Giulia Quadrifoglio I drove recently, so I need to do a comparison soon. These have really good looking interiors, though the finish is a bit questionable questionable, and as with many Mercedes, don't compare it to new models as it will make you feel a bit outdated. Coil packs and misfires are the only real issues, but outside of that, the engine has been good on reliability, and when matched with these burly looks and performance that AMG have become known for, plus the more modern vibe versus the W204, these are a solid winner on this list. They're listed anywhere from around the 25k mark, and 30k will get you a 2017 example with around 60,000 miles on the clock. Again, 7 years into depreciation, and they seem to have settled down. And so there you have it, 10 exotic cars that cost less than £30,000 that I think have probably reached the bottom of their depreciation curves. Huge thanks to the page for their support, and to you guys as well for watching, and if you want to see another video on another exotic car that is around about the same price range, click here.